Good evening, Dolphin fans. Welcome to another episode of Finn's Talk Overtime on the Bandwagon. I'm your host, Finn Stanza, also known as McD Sucks More Than Grier. And with me tonight is my mentor's mentor, Greg. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Survived the hurricane.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So honestly, I don't even understand. I'm in South Florida, my second home, and I'm there.
yeah,
We never seem to get hit. We get the little bit of rain, but it always goes up
yeah.
west. It always goes up west. So hope you
Yeah.
and your family are staying safe.
No, it really wasn't a problem. We didn't lose power. We no down trees, no nothing. So it just a lot of rain and some gust of wind every now and then. But no, neighborhood survived. Woke up this morning, walked outside, and looked around, and it was nice and sunny, and somewhat cool for Florida, and yeah, no real damage to the neighborhood at all. So
Okay,
uh,
good. As
fortunate
long
this
as you're
time.
safe. But the thing about a lot of these storms, they seem to fester. Georgia, there was on Sports Center
Oh
before they were showing this ad about a Georgia high school game where the entire school is completely flooded in a part of Georgia. I remember the last hurricane that came up west actually made it all the way up to Canada, up to Montreal, and we actually got flooding here.
yeah,
Like my sister still has a gut. My area where she lives, most of the homes' basements were uh, basically destroyed because the sump pumps all failed because they couldn't sustain the water. So what you're
yeah.
getting up down south can make it all the way up north to Canada.
Oh
It's
no,
pretty amazing. It's pretty great. It's pretty
yeah,
crazy.
and it's insane. And I have a guy I work with that I talk to all the time. He lives in Savannah,
Yeah.
and basically yeah, he's flooded. He lost
Yeah.
power. He doesn't know when he's getting it back and things like that. So
They're not really prepared inland. Inland
no,
doesn't, depending on how the sewer system is and all that, you can't handle. At least when you're on the coast, the water settles, but then you control the water. Once the
yeah,
water settles, it pushes back. It doesn't really here. There's ways for it to move in different places and get absorbed. They're never prepared for this stuff. They don't
right.
have the ability to handle it. I always make the joke because you're from the Midwest, so you know what I'm talking about. Up north in Canada, for us to get snow is nothing, right? But I went to visit somebody my cousin in Baltimore, and literally it was like little flakes, and it just didn't even hit the ground. You could see like little white on the sidewalk, and I was going, "Are we going out?" He goes, "No, the city's shut down." I go, "What do you mean the city's shut down? It's snowing." I go, "What?" Like
Yeah.
that's just the
No,
mentality, right? No one's prepared for it. But the thing about rain is the water is that it has nowhere else to go, right? At least snow, it melts, it's freezing. There, it's just unbelievable
yeah,
how bad it is.
it's bad.
Anyways, but you want to know what? We're honestly, I hate to say it in a negative, in a sad way, but sort of like these hurricanes that we're also I'm wearing the hurricane. Sort of how the Dolphins season is going. They're being hit by a hurricane every single game they get on that field because for some reason they beat themselves. So last night I had a brief show with Hank because near the end he was cutting out from the weather. His internet sort of
Hmm.
goofed out, but I talked about how McDaniel is sort of breaking the bandwagon, and I saw you defending me a little bit on X because a typical Jets fan saying you're always blaming the coaching. Too bad Bret can't be here tonight because he
Yeah.
has some personal stuff going on, but hopefully he can join me on Monday for the pregame show. Um, but so I talked about how this week I wanted to just get your perspective. I think the overall concept is we're going to talk about everything about the Dolphins, but I'm actually then want to have an overall premise about who's actually the main cause of it. Is the front office really causing this downward swing the first three games, or is it on the head coach based on what we saw last week? But everyone, Cap, welcome to the show, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The show is brought to you by the greatest show on surf. It is a great location to go get your merchandise for the greatest show on surf. Unfortunately, that's not the Miami Dolphins. So hopefully, if you buy their stuff, then maybe hopefully that will be an omen for the Dolphins to wake up right now. And also, we're brought to you by Caneswear. Don't forget to check them out as well. So, Greg, you were with us on the post game show on Sunday evening. You've
Yes.
had a chance to listen to Mike McDaniel talk out of both sides of his mouth again. His typical soliloquies, 5-minute answers, being snippety on who the backup is. How have you felt this up as you do your own analysis? I even see in your headline about the fact that PFF is saying the O line of the Dolphins is dead best, which I see where you're going there a little bit. How have you been feeling about the Dolphins and how things have been going on this week as we lead up to the game on Monday?
It's the frustration just keeps building.
Yeah.
Every time I hear one of the coaches talk from Miami, the frustration keeps building. And the latest one to set me off a little bit was I'm not even sure which one said it, but it was one of the offensive coaches talking about how Huntley might not be ready for Monday night because he can't call a play yet because all of the verbiage in the play call, all the shifts, all the motions, all the things that you have to say, all right, he's not familiar with yet. And my feeling is, I've said this to you, I've said this to Bret a number of times, is just line up and play football every now and then, okay? You don't have to do all of this stuff. Not every play, all right? Give them a handful instead of all of them, okay? Just make it simple for him. If you are as good as what you've been telling everybody since the end of last season, through the draft, through free agency, and things like that, you should be able to line up and play football against Tennessee and win. Okay? Just line up. All right? You know, we used to have a saying in coaching, all right? Is this a Jimmy and Joe's game or is this an X's and O's game? Do we need to out scheme the other team or can we just line up and physically beat them? All right? This is Tennessee. Okay? They haven't won a game since they beat Miami last year. Okay?
Yeah.
Line up and beat them. Your Jimmy and Joe's are better than their Jimmy and Joe's. Okay? That's all we need to do. But no, we got to make it more complicated than that. And from the front office in the beginning of the season to selling this team and all of these replacements. Okay, and if you look, Robert Hunt played pretty well for Carolina, even though for $20 million I wouldn't have signed him. And Van Ginkel up in Minnesota is doing pretty well and things like that.
He's worth $11 million.
Oh, absolutely, he is. All right, we pretty much said that when he left, but from that to the way the coaching staff has prepared this team the first 3 weeks, not being able to get the ball to Waddle and Hill consistently, okay? Because I watched the game last night. You knew CD Lamb was going to make plays, and you knew Neighbors on New York Giants was going to make plays.
What an awful football game, by the way.
Well, it wasn't a great football game, but they figured out how to get their two best players on offense the ball.
Wandale Robinson got the ball. CD Lamb got the ball, 100%.
So it's like, what are we doing here? Especially these last 2 weeks. So, it keeps getting more and more frustrating. I understand the idea of hiding, holding your hand close to your vest, or close to your chest, if you want to say, right? Not announcing who the starter is going to be Monday to keep the other team guessing. But you know what? If you're the Miami Dolphins and you're a playoff team and you think you're a championship caliber team, who cares? Let them know. All right? Just play football.
Everyone else knows who the quarterback is coming to the game. My concern for Mike McDaniel in this offense is not who the quarterback is whether or not the head coach is going to get out of his own effing way. Because for me, right, to say that Skyler, how Skyler is going to be, Skyler has broken ribs. Tim Boyle literally at UConn had 1 touchdown and 15 interceptions. He has the worst touchdown to interception ratio in college and in the NFL, I think, in history. It's just awful. He's a nice guy and all, but he looked better than Skylar Thompson did. As bad as Tim Boyle is as an overall body of work, he looked more comfortable in the offense that he's been in for 3 weeks than Skylar Thompson's been there for 3 years. Now, I personally believe Skylar Thompson is athletic. I personally believe that his inability to be successful has less to do with his athletic skill, has to do with the fact that even though he's a 7th-round pick for a reason, but he's not, the scheme in which he's expected to play is not the way he plays football. He needs time in the pocket. he has time. He can't be worried about the last minute. Like if you look at that play in Seattle that we talked about, where Mike McDaniel was about to call a timeout, and then Skylar Thompson hikes the ball so quickly because he feels nervous and then fumbles the football, or the way the half ended where Jalen Waddle went out of bounds and he had no one to throw to, and instead of actually throwing the ball or doing something or going out of bounds himself, he gets walloped. That's on coaching. That's on player development. That's because Mike McDaniel fancies himself as this offensive guru. I'm sorry. If you look at the last 10 to 12 games of the seasons, including the playoff game, he's average. He's one of the worst offenses in football. Not one of the best offenses, one of the worst.
No, exactly. And you've had 3 years with Skylar Thompson now. Okay, you should know what he can and can't do. One of the other things that was said today or this week in a press conference, one of the offensive coaches said, well, Skylar Thompson, he just needs to rip it every now and then. Yes. Okay. But isn't that
letting him?
Yeah. Isn't that what you're supposed to be teaching him to do?
They don't know how to.
Okay. But they don't know how to.
Because they also don't have the offensive line to give them the time to be able to do it.
Well, again, you need to release the ball in 2.5 seconds to throw a deep pass to Waddle or Hill because they're fast enough to run under it. Okay, and if your quarter, the way the system works with the headsets and just basically talking to the quarterback now, if you want him to throw the ball to a certain player, just tell him to throw the ball to that player.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, in the barest simplest coaching there is, the simplest passing game there is you tell the quarterback, and back in my day, you brought him over to the sideline and say, I'm calling this play, throw the ball to him.
Yeah.
I mean, don't read nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of like, I played baseball in high school. Okay. Yeah. And one of the things that I was going through a hitting slump. Okay. And my coach before an at-bat where I looked awful the at-bat before, he just came up to me and he says, you're thinking too much. He goes, wherever this first pitch is, hit the ball.
Yeah.
All right. He goes, don't worry about it. He goes, if ball, strike, curveball, fastball, slider, whatever it is, just hit it. And you know what? I got a hit. All right. Yeah. Because, and sometimes that's what you need to do. That's what coaching is.
Yeah. Right? For all those people in baseball, just to let you know, because you'll know what this is. Right now, Mike McDaniel in the offense is hitting below the Mendoza line. And I think you know who that is, Mario Mendoza.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Always under 200 player. That's what we're playing like. But let me ask you this, because you're an offensive line type of guy. If you happen to notice, do you know which team leads the league in penalties? In pre-snap penalties?
Oh, yeah, it's the Dolphins.
And you want to know why? Because there's so much motion and so much commotion behind that offensive line that by the time they get the playoff with 0 seconds left, they have no idea. They are so rattled and so confused that they're doing everything they can to hold on for freaking dear life. They hold on to the other player.
Yeah. So there was a podcast on Arrival Network. Kyle Krabs, Locked On Dolphins.
Locked On Dolphins.
Yeah, he really
very
good
smart guy.
Very smart guy. All right, and he did an analysis of kind of the play in the last 2 weeks. All right, Buffalo and Seattle, talking about offensive line and the run game in particular. Okay,
can't go to the sides.
What's that?
They haven't been able to go outside the numbers. Why aren't they going up the middle?
Yes, they haven't been going outside because honestly, the outsides, the tight ends and the wide receivers have just been horrible blocking.
Ingle's been awful. People give Ingle credit. He's the worst passing, blocking fullback in the NFL right now.
Right. Rated. But one of the other things that he said is all these little cheat motions that are supposed to be timed up with the snap of the ball to give that guy an advantage is actually showing the defense where the run's going.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're keying off of that stuff. And I think, he didn't talk about this, but when he said it, then I got to looking at it a little bit differently as well. I think the timing's off on the offense because there's a signal or a word that Tua is using to put everybody in motion. And the timing of the snap is supposed to be coincide with that motion. All right. And the timing's off. So I think that's affecting the O line too. But Kyle also said, that the Miami's actually running the ball pretty well up the middle. Okay. And they're not, and honestly, that has been the case. The last 2 weeks, I've been pleasantly surprised how well they've run the ball up the middle.
Jalen Wright ran it twice.
Well, yeah, but but again, that to me is one of those coaching things. Jalen Wright, if you're going to run the ball up the middle, give the ball to Wright. Okay.
You think we miss Chris Brooks?
I don't know.
Kind of style of running.
We need that style of running, and Wright is the closest person to that. But they're so afraid to give him a chance to take Achane off the field because Achane gives the defense something else to think about.
Who cares?
That at this point, I don't think it much matters. But Jalen Wright should be your between the tackles runner.
I'm about to say something you're going to agree with me on.
Uh-oh.
When Devon Achane, if Devon Achane is the target of the quarterback throughout that game, we're more than likely going to lose that football game.
Yes.
If he's your primary person, you're going to lose that football game. They don't mind you giving the ball to Achane.
Nope.
They don't care.
They don't care.
Give it to them all day. They don't care.
They don't care. When every time Miami's offense doesn't try to get the ball to Hill or Waddle, the defense will consider it a win right now.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody else on the offense that really scares them.
What is your issue? What do you think is the attributing factor to Hill running a deep route, taking the next play off, Jalen Waddle not paying attention, going out of bounds? Why do you think are the last two games, because you've even said they're averaging about 66 yards when they should be averaging at least over 100 and something per game together on average? What do you think is the lack of you think it's frustration? You think it's annoyance? You think that literally they're doing whatever they feel like it because they know they don't stand it? What do you think the reason for them being so putrid the last two games is, or the fact that they're actually making their own mistakes during those games?
Well, I think wide receivers are a little bit different. Okay. Yeah. I think you need to, especially at the NFL level, you really need to focus getting them touches early so that they stay in the game. Okay. It shouldn't be like that, but it is. All right. It's one of those reality type things, right? The wide receivers need to touch the ball. Hill and Waddle need to touch the ball. And if Hill and Waddle feel that they're open, and they're not even getting looked at, they're going to start not focusing on certain plays. They're going to start not, taking themselves out. Okay. One of the other things that I noticed last night, and I looked it up after the game, Neighbors played in 90% of the plays. CeeDee Lamb played in 85% of the plays. Okay.
Yeah.
Hill and Waddle are barely getting to 70% in some games. All right. They're taking themselves out way too often.
And McDaniel has no control over it.
Yeah, and basically, Hill will run downfield, not catch the ball, take himself out. The next guy comes in, and they call the play like nothing ever happened.
And that's
it's really frustrating when that happens. And there's no accountability. One of the other things that was said this week during one of the press conferences is, they don't consider benching guys due to penalties on the field.
Julian frickin' Hill.
Yeah. What
he's his best blocker, because he's a good blocker.
All right. But still, it's just like, okay, so you can make a mistake and not get punished. I don't know. Some of this as an old coach, and I know I'm a little bit more old school than most, but is just kind of foreign to me. I hear some of this stuff and I go, really? This is where we're going now?
Do you follow hockey at all, a little bit, or not really?
Yeah, no. I'm a big Blackhawks fan.
Oh, you're a big Blackhawks fan. So,
yes.
You have Connor Bedard. So I'm a massive hockey fan on top of football. Mm-hmm. I'm obviously from Montreal, so I have literally 24 Stanley Cup banners every time I walk into the arena, right?
Yes.
So the way hockey works, because I coach hockey, is you want the kids to develop, but they know that if they don't give their effort and they turn over the ball or they turn over the puck to create a goal or a scoring chance, When they come on the bench, they're missing the next shift. Like they already know they're going to the back of the bench because they know they have to earn. There's a consequence to making a mistake. You also need to I want them to be watching the game to see what other players are doing, that they and read the play so they don't make that mistake again. They have to have the chance to. Anyways, I don't get it there. There's no lack of accountability. So let's talk about that for a second, and then we'll go into more of the offensive line and all that, and the back to the quarterback, and then Grier and McDaniel. Tyreek Hill, rest day today. Calais Campbell, rest day today. You're trying to get Tyreek Hill involved in the offense more, and he's not there. What is with this load management crap? Like you're 1-2. You still in the play. What is with people taking days off? Tyreek Hill has been taking a day off since the season started. He's gotten one pass that's actually relevant this season. The rest of it, he's done nothing. What does he need rest for? Calais Campbell, I understand he's older. What does he need rest for? The guy's playing under 50% of the snaps. He needs a relaxing day. He's exerted. The team is not really exerting themselves very much on the field the last couple of games.
Well, it's that, okay. It's veteran rest days and things like that. And T Dobbs, Rick Long, thanks for joining the conversation here. Yeah. But the other thing that came out this week, all right. I think it was attributed to Achan. The team told the coaches they wanted to practice in pads this week.
Yeah.
Right in the first practice of the week. Wait a minute, what? Okay, you have the players having to tell the coaches to actually practice in pads?
They're so laid back. Like Florida, like they're really defining themselves like the city. Everything is on island time. Everything, no one's in a rush. Like nothing. Don't you realize? And I'm about to tell you this now, and we'll tell. This is the defining game of the season. Last week wasn't. You lose this game, your chances of making the playoffs go to 15% when you're 1-3.
Yes.
And then you need to win this game because the next game is no. I understand you're playing New England, but you're going into Foxborough. If the weather doesn't accommodate you because now it's getting a little cool up north, that's not going to be easy either. So take this game lightly and not have a game plan. Look at the game with Look at San Francisco with Mason. Oh, he didn't know. How do you not tell the quarterback who's playing? So let's talk about the quarterbacks for a few minutes. I say it has to be Tyler Huntley because Tyler Huntley is the only option that is different that we can actually utilize. If you look at the success so far this season of Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, even Matthew Stafford, Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback, even Geno Smith, those players who are actually being successful, the teams are doing well or winning football games. What do? They make plays outside the pocket. They're not staying inside the pocket as a pure pocket passer. And his and we need to use RPO. We have to play action. That's not Tim Boyle's thing. That's not Skylar Thompson, but that's something that Tyler Huntley can do. I don't care about his accuracy. The guy gives you a different element with his legs and his size that those quarterbacks don't give you.
Right, but is McDaniel going to allow him to do that? That's my big.
I think as a home game, he will.
All right. I mean, there was no reason not to get Skylar Thompson a run here or there, or get him outside the pocket. Give him an either or. Give him a simple read. Is this guy open? If not, run. Okay. You know, those types of little wrinkles that you don't necessarily want to do with Tua, even though we do know that there are bootlegs in the offense because Tua runs them. Okay, you can run that kind of bootleg. You can tell Thompson to say, "Hey, you're looking at this one guy. If he's not open, you run." Okay, you could do that with Huntley. All right. The question is, will they? All right. There was nothing McDaniel did against Seattle that was different. and expecting a quarterback other than Tua to run your offense is just it's ridiculous. It's I don't know if it matters who plays quarterback Monday night
I think it
right
does.
now. Okay, again, if McDaniel allows them to play, or
Yeah.
does something a little different, but I'm not. I'm saying it's 50-50 whether it's Huntley or not.
I personally believe that even if Tua was in the game, if Mike McDaniel continued to call the offense he's been doing with Tua, they would still potentially lose because that offensive play calling is absolutely predictable now. No one's afraid of Mike McDaniel's offense. He's just, they just, I don't know anymore. He's completely lost. He looks confused. He looks frustrated. He looks flustered.
Correct.
He looks defensive. He looks snippy. It's not funny
Yeah.
anymore. When his whole
Well,
shtick doesn't work anymore. It's no longer funny. It's year 3. Mario Cristobal, for all his warts, this is year 3 for him. Look at how he's starting the season. Look at Mike McDaniel, both in year 3. At least there's you want your coach to go like this. You don't want your coach to go like this, and that's what
right.
Mike McDaniel's been doing for the last 10 games.
Yeah,
But
but just one thing on that, right? Um, when your offense is struggling the way it is, okay, the last however many games you want to go back now, whether it's 6 or 8 or something like that, your offense is averaging 14 points a game. All right. There are no easy wins in the NFL when you're averaging 11, 12, 13, 14 points a game.
and you have
Okay.
Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. How is that
Yeah.
actually possible?
All right. Exactly. All right. But when your offense is this anemic, Tennessee's not a gimme. All
No,
right. All right. Going to New England isn't a gimme. All right.
no.
Because you're not guaranteed to score points.
Every team we've played in the last 2 weeks, between Buffalo and Seattle, they had injuries on defense that would allow you to
All
run the
right.
ball, and you didn't run the ball effectively. It didn't make any sense to me. You had the opportunities to be
All right.
successful in a lot of different ways, and we never adjusted to it. I personally believe if Skylar Thompson or Tim Boyle start that game, the crowd is going to lose their mind. They're all asking for Huntley. He is new. He's new. He's fresh. He
Oh,
can run. He's a Florida guy. Went to Hallandale High. There's something about it. He'll have family at the game. There's a motivation. It's on prime time. I think if this was an away game, Mike McDaniel could get away with his bullshit and whatever. This is a home game. They are going to be ripping him a new one. I've never seen the. I've been ripping him for 2 years. The fan base is on him now. Every single podcast, whether it's Kyle Krabs, whether it's Dudley Durong, whether it's Dolphins talk, I'm giving everyone whether it's Reason, whether it's Big O, everyone they're all ripping him. They're all ripping Mike
yeah.
Daniel right now because of the fact that you're basically saying, well, if Tua's not there, because I think you also responded to Dan Orlovsky. I mentioned you this week. Like, how do you say if Tua comes back? No, I actually think that if Tua comes
Yeah.
back, Mike McDaniel's need to be more stubborn with his play calling. Do you seem to forget that your play calling caused Tua Tagovailoa to throw 3 stupid interceptions not 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks ago, and you had a long week and you still couldn't adjust?
Well, there's this, you know, uh, Cap for Life, P Double. Thanks for everything here. Um, there's there's this amnesia within a fan base and within commentators and things like that. They think that the 70-point Denver game
Scored
last
3
year,
touchdowns.
okay, that 70 points Denver game, that's the offense, okay? It's all high scoring and everything like that. That was a year ago. All right. That was the high point. Since that time, the offense has not been very good.
No.
All right. And like I said, the last 3 games last year and the 3 games this year, you're averaging under 14 points a game. You've scored 20 points once in 6 games in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, that In a league that's designed for offense, you are now the worst offense in the league.
Yeah.
And,
So
and, you know, and that's just
I
ridiculous.
want to respond to Cap. It's all falling on deaf ears because it's different. People were okay with Mike McDaniel when Tua was there, and people were saying, well, it's on Fangio. Now he doesn't have that excuse anymore because the defense, if you actually look at every game so far this season, whether the defense started off poorly, every single game, Anthony Weaver's gone in at halftime and adjusted every single solitary game. Whether it was in the second half against Buffalo, whether it was in the second half against the Jaguars, or even last week, where at the end, I think that was just them being gassed. The defense has been phenomenal in the second half, and they've actually been the reason for the last year and a half, the last 10 games, why we're actually been in football games. So for me, it's more about the fact that Mike McDaniel is literally, his shtick is falling on deaf ears. No one's finding him funny anymore. And I actually think that he is his leash is really, really short, because I think that before Grier has a chance to have himself get canned, he might can McDaniel. Because if we lose this game, if we lose Monday, we're losing the next three. We're gonna be 1-5. This season is done. I'll easily say that now. You lose Monday night, you're screwed, because because Tyler Huntley, because they're also not looking for another quarterback now. It's actually been reported they're not looking for. They're relying on Tua. He hasn't even seen a neurologist yet. He hasn't even gotten a second opinion yet, and you're not actually looking out to see if you could sign somebody else. If I were them, I would cut Skyler and bring back Mike White at this point, because at least there's another veteran there who's actually played a game and actually won a football game. This is a guy who's yet in a regular season start to throw a touchdown. So for me right now, how tired are you of McDaniel? Like, are you exhausted from him? Like, are you at this point where you still believe he can turn this around?
How about a little bit of both? I don't know if that's really an answer. Can he still turn it around? Yes, but I still think he's so stubborn in his ways that the offense has to look this way and it has to run this way. We earlier in the show we talked about Huntley. It made the interview talking about Huntley made it sound like that he wasn't picking up the cadence of the play calling because he couldn't talk about it. All right. And picking up all of the motions and shifts and things like that he has to call in every single play is taxing him. All right. If that's the case, then McDaniel's not doing anything. Okay. Now, if he changes, if he admits that he has to change, then I think they could be okay. But right now, based on the 3 weeks and based on the actual, the crap show that was shown offensively in Seattle, where he wasn't doing anything different, I don't think he's going to do anything different. And they can't cut Skyler, okay? Because if you cut Skyler, then you admitted for 3 years you can't, be a quarterback guru and get a backup quarterback to play well. I don't think he's going to do that. Chris Perkins pointed that out today. All right, that he thinks Skylar Thompson's going to get another start when he's healthy.
Oh, God forbid.
All right, but why? Because they can't admit that they made a mistake and move on.
Look at the 49ers. The 49ers made one of the worst trades in the world with the Dolphins to draft Trey Lance. They ate crow.
Well, no, and one of the things you have to admit when you coach, all right, when you can't compound a mistake. If you make a mistake by playing somebody that isn't very good, you don't keep them in there because you're like, I don't want to admit that I made a mistake. You got to eat crow and you got to basically move on.
Yeah.
All right. And so I'm just wondering what's going to happen here.
Do you see this being a real, can you picture, you go to games? I could picture Miami Dolphin fans throwing things on the field or losing their minds if they lose decisively, or it's a very tight, close game, to the Titans game. And if the offense is sputtering again early on, I have a feeling that the crowd is going to turn on McDaniel. You were there at the first 2 games. You guys were booing. Both
Yes.
games, you guys booed the offense.
Yes, absolutely. And it's been a long time since I heard that in that stadium. Honestly,
I would accept him being traded. I actually think I don't care if Hill's here anymore. I honestly don't care.
I thought it was a mistake extending him. I've been preaching that as well.
Like if I had to go it again, I wouldn't have extended him. I wouldn't have extended Tua. I wouldn't have extended. Would have extended nobody. Like, what did you need to extend people so quickly? What was the rush? What was the rush?
The rush was you wanted to sign these guys before their market value went up.
Who cares?
Right? And at this point, it doesn't matter.
Look. Oh yeah, they look. All these signings have looked fantastic so far for us. But to answer T. Dobbs' question, why hasn't he seen one? Because I have a feeling that number one, they say he wasn't available and there was a conflict and this and that. But I have a real good feeling. I think Tua's afraid to go see the neurologist. That's my thing. I think he's afraid to go see one. I think he's afraid that the neurologists are going to tell him something he doesn't want to hear. So I think also because I think he wants it because if he goes to see them too early, it doesn't give his chance his brain to heal as much. The later you go, the more time it has his brain to heal. So they'll see less swelling, they'll see less of an effect of the concussion, and they'll clear him. The longer he goes out seeing one and getting that second opinion, the better off he is.
And they've already put him on IR. They know he can't. They know he can't come back sooner than what the IR is. So there's no rush.
Yeah.
At this point. So that's kind of what that is.
Okay.
And
let's turn to Grier in an indirect way, and let's talk about the offensive line for a second.
All right.
If I were the Miami Dolphins right now, it's time for Patrick Paul. I would IR Taron Armstead right now.
Yeah.
Because having him in the game and leaving the game going is ridiculous. That's one thing that really is frustrating me is the fact that we have Chop Robinson on one side who hardly plays. You have Patrick Paul sitting on the bench. This is your first and second round picks, while Malik Neighbors is on 90% of the snaps. Graham Barton is the starting center for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brian Thomas is on the field all the time for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Xavier Worthy was on the field all the time for the Kansas City Chiefs. Should I keep going? All these players, first, second round picks, are helping their teams. Which team is not utilizing their first and second round picks? The freaking Miami Dolphins. So there's your first rip on Grier, that you drafted players you're not even using properly. I think it's time for Patrick Paul. What do you think? So you take some time to talk about the offensive line and why your headline is that, and then talk about what you've seen from the offensive line that you like, and what will you do to change it moving forward for the rest of the year.
There is no point to play Lamb anymore. There's no point to play Armstead anymore. You drafted a kid in the second round.
He's huge. He's huge.
Yeah, well, let him learn on the field. The thing is Armstead hasn't played all that great while he was in there.
No.
All right. You drafted this guy in the second round. Second round players should be playing.
Yeah.
Okay. Second round draft picks should be playing. First round draft picks should be playing. All right. You're not getting a ton out of Agba. Okay. One of the stats is that Chop Robinson is one of the top 5 in pressures and pressure rate. And
same old.
Well, but it's fine. But what cut them loose, let them play. What's the harm?
No, nothing.
Okay, what's the harm?
Nothing.
Right? I don't get the mentality. All right, it's one of those coaching things. Okay. And what is one of my frustrations, and I almost got in 2 fistfights with the coaching staff as a coach, with other coaches on it, and that was one of them, because if you have a middling veteran, okay, and in my case this was a senior who was okay, but you had a junior or a sophomore who showed promise, right? Who would maybe make mistakes or something like that, and not be in the right position every time, but he had the capability of making plays. Unless the senior or the veteran is a clear-cut winner on this, play the younger guy.
Yeah.
Right? You're not getting anywhere with that veteran just occupying space. All right, and there was some film that was released this week showing the Miami's linebackers getting blown up. All right, now I don't know who our backups are, but Jesus, you know,
On the linebacker position, you
on
have
the
Duke Riley, you have Jordan Brooks, you have David Long, you have Channing Tindall if he's playing.
but
That's about it. Oh yeah, and then you have Anthony Walker, we haven't seen much of either.
right, but I mean, if the veterans aren't getting the job done, okay, play younger players.
Yeah.
And the thing with Armstead this year is I'm questioning his effort.
Yeah, no effort.
There are plays where he looks like he's just mailing it in, taking it off.
Because he's
And
been off. Like, I personally think when you take time off and you don't practice and I don't care how old you are, you're not going to get better.
right,
You have to get back on that bike and do something. Load management doesn't work before the season starts. That's the point of the preseason, is to get yourself in shape for the regular season. Not happening. I don't care. Oh, because they're supposed to be coming in shape. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to go run. They're supposed to go run a marathon without doing any training. It doesn't make any sense the way they're treating Armstead.
no,
$15 million a year to play, get 2 or 3 games. Doesn't make any
No,
sense.
but let the kid play.
Yeah.
Let Chop Robinson play. You get him on the field for more than 50% of the snaps.
Yeah.
All right. At least he's fast. He can run sideline to sideline and make a tackle.
Yeah.
And see what happens. Chop Robinson could get 2 or 3 sacks this week.
Yeah.
All right, because
Will Levis makes a lot of mistakes.
he makes a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Holds the ball.
But overall, people are saying the offensive line is not the problem. You want to know what? I was with Hank last night. They are the problem because of the fact that they take way too many penalties. They're undisciplined. They have injuries galore, and they don't give the quarterback enough time to throw the football. The quarterback, when Tua is there, that's the one compliment I'll give him, is he makes his offensive line look better than they are. It's pretty evident.
So I would counter that and say that the offense is set up in a way to basically get the ball out quick, and that affects the way the offensive line is blocking as well. It's not a traditional drop back block. Your tackles aren't taking deep sets. Your offensive line is actually on a lot of passing plays, not actually pass setting, but actually kind of firing off the ball. Okay. Yeah. And the reason for that is because that play call is supposed to get the ball out quick. All right. If Miami went to a traditional drop back type passing game, all right, with read progressions and things like that, I think you would see them act differently. I've been pleasantly surprised how well they've held up in the run game this year. I've thought they've been pretty well running between the tackles. I don't think that the run game issues are necessarily on them. We talked about it earlier. The tight ends and the wide receivers are just no shows in the blocking game. Ingold, who I thought was pretty good last year, has not been good this year. So they're not getting any help on the perimeter either.
Yeah.
And Skylar Thompson on Sunday, he just didn't know what to do. And
he's a 7th round pick.
Sorry. Yeah, and so the O line looked worse than it did, and again, there was another stat that I saw this week where Miami is one of the top teams in the league of going empty. All right, I think that's got to stop. you got to give the defense at least some an idea that you might run the ball.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that to talk about running the ball, I personally think it sounds, even though he didn't have a good first game and he is injury prone, the time where the zone running and the zone blocking was working is when Raheem Mostert's on there on first and second down. He's your outside runner. he's the better outside runner than Achan or Wright. And the fact that he hasn't been there for 2.5 games or 2 3/4 games, I think it has affected their running game.
Yeah, and I also wonder about, we talked about it earlier, Kyle, talking about that cheat motion, basically signaling where the run's going to come and giving the defense an opportunity just to fly to the football.
Yeah.
That could be a very big problem too. If you're basically telling the defense where you're running the ball on any given play, yeah, you're not going to run the ball well.
No.
So there's a lot of things structurally going on with this offense right now that's not good, and you see it in the run game, you see it in the pass game. Some of the route combinations just don't make sense. And there's been some people online this week, pointing that out too. That these route combinations are just nuts.
Yeah, I think it's very what because you're a coach, so put on your coaching hat a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What is going through a coach's head when you run the ball? Because I've had this conversation with Bret a few times last year, where Mostert ran the ball in the Tennessee game. They ran the ball, then they started throwing the ball. When you had 2 successful runs with Jalen Wright, why are the next 3 plays empty back throwing plays to an inexperienced 3rd-year, 7th-round pick quarterback? What is going through a head coach's head that they think that's the right play call 3 times in a row?
Yeah, again, I come from a different era and stuff like that. The way I was brought up coaching was you keep doing the same thing until they figure out how to stop it. All right. Now, this era is a little bit different because of game theory and the expected value of a pass over a run, and basically needing to get your quarterback in rhythm and stuff like that. So the play calling mentality is a little different. But in my opinion, in Seattle, with your backup quarterback, all right, your mentality as a play caller has to change as well. You're an offense that was struggling to score with your first string quarterback. There's no reason to think that you're not going to struggle in Seattle on the road with your backup either. Okay. So you play the game a little bit differently. You manage the game a little bit differently. You rely more on the run. Okay. We talked a little bit about it at pre-show. There's nothing that says you can't just tell the quarterback who to throw the ball to.
Yeah.
All right. Take all the doubt out of their head. Just call the play and say, throw the ball to Hill. Yeah. I don't care what the coverage is. Throw the ball to Hill.
I personally think if we had a defensive head coach in a game like that, where it's more of a Mike Tomlin-like, or it's a Bill Belichick-like, or it's a Sean McDermott-like, we would have had more success because they're not trying to be cute.
No. Absolutely. I mean, that's a defensive coach's mentality.
We have no idea with Mostert. Mostert, you never know with him. Like he the guy tweaks something and he's out. This has been his plague his entire career. He has a good start. He either plays well for a long time, or he gets injured with the simplest play, and then you don't see him again.
Well, and one of the things that cracked me up this week, is the justification for how poorly they played in Seattle was you were without your Pro Bowl quarterback, your Pro Bowl left tackle, and your Pro Bowl running back.
No bullshit.
All right. Well,
BS.
No, but the anomaly was the game last year was that they stayed healthy. That was the anomaly. Okay. They've been hurt their entire career. Every year they're hurt. Okay.
The Kansas City Chiefs, Greg, are not using Travis Kelce in their 3-0. They're not using their best player outside of Patrick Mahomes, and they're winning every game.
Right, because they have other ways to beat you.
Yeah.
We talked about this earlier before the season started. All right. Miami basically only has one way of beating you.
Tyreek Hill.
Yes. And right now that one way isn't even beating you because they can't figure out how to get him.
But
the
I'd
ball.
rather Mike. No, they could just throw the ball to him, turn him into a slot receiver, put jet sweeps, give him the ball. It's the
Just give
same
him the
way,
ball.
like a point. It's like a point guard. Every time you leave there's a reason why every single time you check the ball in and you're going down the court, it ends up in a quarterback's hand. There's a reason why Steph Curry has the basketball. There's a reason why Michael Jordan has the basketball. There's a reason why Kobe got rest in peace has the basketball.
No, exactly. And
Give your best player the ball.
And after the Buffalo game, they talked about how hard it was to get Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle the football. And yeah, and I watched these other games.
Justin Jefferson. How is Sam Darnold getting Justin Jefferson the ball?
Correct. Justin Jefferson never gets double teamed, or the defensive secondary is not looking at him. They don't look at CeeDee Lamb in Dallas. Yeah. He had a pretty good game last night. All right. Yeah. I mean, they got him the ball. I mean, what is this crap about not being able to get him the ball?
He's Tyreek freaking Hill is the fastest guy in the world. Throw it deep. He'll get it.
Correct. And that's what I mean. I mean, there was the most frustrating thing Sunday night or Sunday in Seattle was they never took a shot deep.
Not one.
They didn't take a shot deep. The one shot they took deep was to a backup tight end down the middle of the field. That was the longest throw. You got Tyreek Hill and you got Jalen Waddle on the outside, and you don't throw it deep once.
0 for 2 in the red zone. Red zone calling is awful, and their 2-minute offense is awful, and their short yardage. They still have. I've never seen a team so inept on short yardage. They don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do.
It's easier to get. They'd rather be 3rd and 11 than 3rd and 1.
They don't know what to do, and they know that the talent that they have at running back doesn't warrant a handoff. That's the big problem.
To this day, this is why I wanted Derrick Henry. Because he would get you a first down every single time it was short yardage. Or go get yourself a quarterback. I always said this. You don't have to have Tua. Get yourself a quarterback who can get you, who's 6'6" for all I care, to jump the trenches to get you that 1 yard. All he has to do is jump over the center and put his hand out with the ball. That's what made Tom Brady. One of Tom Brady's best assets was the fact that in short yardage, he was getting you the first down every time.
Yeah, he could quarterback sneak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every time. It's like I said, there's so many things structurally wrong with this team on offense right now that it is very frustrating.
I'm not worried about the defense. I understand we're worried about the secondary, and I understand that, but I have more faith in Anthony Weaver right now than I do on Mike McDaniel, because at least he's shown in 3 games that this defense can find a way to adjust, and there's less talent on the defense than there is on the offense.
Yeah, I look. There is nothing. There's only one focus for Miami, and when you're scoring 11 points a game on average, and you score 20 points once, all right, there's only one thing you need to worry about, and that's the offense.
Exactly.
Let the defense take care of themselves. You got to figure out how to score more points. I don't see you being able to beat Tennessee on Monday night unless you score 20 points.
Oh my God, for sure.
All right, and that's a struggle right now. I wouldn't bet that Miami scores 20 points in that game.
If Tyler Huntley starts, and we get the official word, they will score a lot of points because he's playing for the backup job right now. He's not playing for the third stringer. If he has a great game, he will solidify the backup position right away. If he can go into Miami in prime time and win us this football game, he's going to be. You know how Miami Dolphin fans are with their quarterbacks; they're going to anoint him the second coming.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know if he's going to be the second coming or not, but just be a professional and play the position the way it's supposed to be played.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's talk. We haven't talked about him yet. So McDaniel does suck. The question I have for you: does he suck more than Grier? So is the position we're in now, because I'm convinced that Chris Grier is a yes man, and a lot of the fact is, if Mike McDaniel didn't want Skyler and wanted another quarterback, he would have gone to get him. But do you feel that the structure of this team right now and where we are after this game falls more on McDaniel or more on Grier?
No, I think this is McDaniel. I agree with you. I think Greer's a yes man. I don't think he's a particularly good yes man.
No.
All right. But I still
But he
think
has smart guys next to him in McKenzie and Allen, who are former general managers in this league. So what is going on up there?
you look at the well, okay. If we want to go here, all right.
Go.
We've
You have
talked,
time.
we've talked about this in the past. When your plan is flawed, no matter how well you execute it, you're not gonna succeed. Okay. I still think they're working off a flawed plan. All right. How to build a team, what you do in the draft, who you extend, who you don't, who you sign as a free agent, where you focus is. You know, there's a reason why rookies don't contribute in Miami. It's because they sign free agents before the draft to fill the holes, then draft for those holes again, and then say that because the rookies aren't as, don't know the system or whatever it is, like the veterans do, they can't play. All right. It's a flawed mentality. And it's a flawed way of building your roster. It's a flawed way of drafting. It's a flawed way of using free agency. So when all of this flawed, no matter how well you execute it, you're still not going to get the results at the end. But saying that, McDaniel has gone along with this. Okay, McDaniel's decision to keep Skylar Thompson, which looks wrong right now, all evidence says that was the wrong decision. That's got to be on McDaniel. It's a backup quarterback. Okay, they went out and got the veteran last year, Mike White. He didn't have to play.
$6 million for nothing.
All right.
What a waste of money.
It's a waste of money, but okay, I understand why you did it. All right. But you had the decision to make. You could keep one of the two, or you could have replaced both of them in the offseason. You decided to do neither. Mike McDaniel hitched his wagon to Skylar Thompson. Skylar Thompson was the guy who was going to win you a couple games if he had to. Okay. If Tua got hurt, that's what your backup quarterback is. Can you figure out a way to win a couple games while your starting quarterback gets healthy? That had to have been Mike McDaniel's decision.
Yeah, 100%.
And we scored 3 points on Sunday with it.
Chris Grier is a problem. They're both a problem. They're both problems. The difference is that in the end, you choose your quarterback. You hitch your wagon to your backup. That is a position where you can decide. I don't think that's I don't put that on the general manager at all. Yeah. Okay, maybe you hitch your wagon to Tua, but you want to know what? You can easily see now, kissing him on the forehead, he's very attached to his quarterback. So don't say that he was forced upon him. If he really didn't want him, after 1 or 2 years, he can get rid of him. The fact that he wanted to give him an extension, do all this stuff, that Mike McDaniel is the problem. For what I don't get, and you just said it, is a lot of teams. If we would have drafted Graham Barton, you wouldn't have needed you wouldn't have had an issue at guard or at center. If you would have drafted Brian Thomas, you wouldn't have needed to sign Odell Beckham. Why did you sign Patrick Paul if you had Teron Armstead? Most people draft players in the first and second round to play them, not to sit them. The only place where you might sit somebody is at quarterback if you want them to develop, but even the Miami Dolphins couldn't do that properly because we all know that Tua should have been redshirted that year. He had no reason to be coming on that field that year. Fitzpatrick was doing a phenomenal job in our tanking year. He was more fun to watch. In that year, I didn't want to see Tua. So for me, the whole foundational concept and culture, and that's why you're going to be shocked here. If I actually had to blame someone more than Grier, I blame Ross. Because Ross continues to leave Grier in that position, but at the same time, for somebody who so-called wants the Super Bowl and was willing to tamper to get Tom Brady, but now has his Formula One, I hear he loves McDaniel, but if they're 1-5, he has to clean house. Like that if they lose tomorrow, if they lose Monday and they lose against New England, I would fire Chris Grier, put Reggie McKenzie or Marvin Allen in charge for the rest of the season until you can figure something out. Promote Anthony Weaver for the rest of the year as an interim head coach. Let him call the defensive plays for all I care, and give Darrell Bevel the play call sheet. I don't care. But if they're 1-4 and they lose decisively to these two teams in the softest part of the schedule with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on your team and Jalen Ramsey and Bradley Chubb being able to come back and Odell Beckham coming back, just get rid of these guys and try something different. Because I don't know if you know about this, but sports, but in a lot of sports, especially in hockey, example, you when you fire your coach, there's always a motivation that's a wake up call for the players, and they play better, and and there's like that adrenaline rush to win football games. Like, you play better for a coach who is not your best friend or a person who's trying to earn a job for next year because they're more motivated. Because I feel that Mike McDaniel is way too comfortable in his own skin as the Miami Dolphins head coach with the extension and everything like that. He's way too comfortable. So I put that on Ross just as much as I put that on Grier.
Yeah, I mean, Ross doesn't know football. Okay, so he has to hire people who know.
Marino
football.
knows it. I'm surprised he hasn't said anything.
I appreciate Ross for what he's done for the franchise.
For sure, I love
he
Ross
spends
as an
money
owner,
and things like that. As an owner, his football people have let him down.
Yeah,
and I don't think he surrounds himself with the best football people. And the people who are giving him advice as to who to surround himself with aren't very good at it either. I
want Louis Riddick. No offense, smart guy, like unbiased.
There's a couple guys. Louis Riddick is one of them. But again, you need a new plan. All right, and the plan for Miami for the last decade has just been wrong. And it's just not me saying this. It's other football people who are smart enough to understand it, that it's just wrong. The idea of how to build this team and the emphasis that they're putting into certain players in certain positions and extending certain players, it's just been flawed. And that's got to be on the front office. That's got to be on Grier.
Yeah.
So but again, I also think Grier's a yes man when it comes to a lot of this stuff, and he's picking, he did what Flores wanted to do, and made them did, as the organization they made bad picks, and then now they're with McDaniel, they're doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So
you're not going to have the opportunity because you're going to be on business next week, and so what are your keys to victory for the Titans game on Monday? How do they win this football game?
So how do they win this football game? I think they need to basically run the ball. This has got to be a 50-50 game. All right. You got to run the ball 50% of the time or more. All right. You got to occupy the clock. All right. And the next thing is make Will Levis make dumb mistakes and hopefully take one back. This offense is in such a funk right now, scoring points, that I think you're going to have a defensive score to win this game.
No tossing your helmet onto the field, Bradley Chubb. Wait, he won't be playing.
But I just don't. I don't see them scoring 20 points, and if they don't score 20 points, you're going to need a huge defensive effort. And I am not optimistic about this game. I will say that.
What's your prediction?
Huh?
Predict two things. Who's your starting quarterback?
I don't think it's Huntley.
You think it's Boyle?
I think it's Boyle.
The whole game?
He might get benched at some point, but Tyreek Hill said today that he's catching passes from Boyle in practice. All right.
I think there's going to be a riot on the field before the game starts if Boyle starts. If 14 runs onto that field as the starting quarterback, I think he's gonna get booed.
It wouldn't surprise me if he got booed, but again, this is one of those things. This is one of those coaches' decisions that Boyle knows the cadence. Boyles could call the offensive.
He's been there 3 weeks.
Well, that's 2 weeks longer than Huntley.
But I don't want them to know the cadence. The cadence doesn't work.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying.
Why do you want a quarterback that knows the system? I'd rather a guy come off I would trust Ryan. No, I'm not going to say Ryan. I'm not saying him. I would trust Josh Dobbs off the San Francisco practice squad to come in on Sunday morning, fly in, be there Monday, more than Tim Boyle or Skylar Thompson. The guy who just got there. Hey, Brian Flores used to sign people on Tuesday, have him on the lineup on Sunday. That was pretty simple, right?
But again, it's McDaniel having to basically concede that he can't run his offense.
Run 10 plays.
Correct. Correct.
Run it simple.
Correct. You need a couple formations and you need 7-8 plays to run out of it. Give them 3 runs and 4 pass plays, and just say, again, my Jimmys and Joes are better than your Jimmys and Joes. Let's just line up and play football.
Yeah.
All right. But I don't think McDaniel's capable of doing that.
It's going to cost him his job.
It could cost him his job. He's got to call his motions. He's got to call his shifts. He's got to do this little tinkering here and there. And if you're a quarterback and you can't call those things, then he can't use you because he can't go the other way. He can't just say, I write, power for lack of, for something stupid and elementary and Pop Warner-ish. All right. He can't have a play call like that. When I was, again, back in the, mid 90s when I was doing this, all right, we actually had a play call, a handful of plays that were just numbers. We could just walk up to the line of scrimmage and say 11, and everybody knew what to do. Okay, I mean, do you think McDaniel has anything like that in his playbook? No. All right, it's really, I don't want to say dumb it down, but it's dumb it down and let Huntley play. Okay, you don't. If you assume that 30% of pass plays are going to be broken plays anyway, where you're going to have to adapt and you're going to have to improvise, make it 50 with him. Okay, just say, Tyler, if this guy's not open, get outside the pocket, make something happen.
Yep.
All right.
Most great plays are done when they're manufactured, not that they actually use the actual call play. Most plays are changed at the line of scrimmage. They're not what's originally in the play call. But I want to mention something about Will Levis. Will Levis, I don't think that with him coming together, I think Anthony Weaver, I'm not worried about him. I think our defense will be ready. In terms of the season being over with Greg saying, if they win and Tyler Huntley leads it, they're going to have a winning record heading into the bye. And the way that the AFC is acting now, think about this concept. The Miami Dolphins are 1-2. They scored the least amount of points in the NFL. They're the only team in the NFL that has not led during this season at all for more than a second. They're the only team. The only team that has not led in a game for more than a second is the Miami Dolphins because there were zeros on the clock against Jacksonville. They're in a playoff spot. That's how piss poor the AFC is. So you need to get ahead of it. If they win the next 2 games heading into the bye, that changes a lot for them. But let's start with Monday night. So let me ask you, are they going to be 1-3 or are they going to be 1-2? And I'll even give you the push. I'll even give you the choice. If Tim Boyle starts, first, and then I'll let you do your final prediction. If Skylar Thompson starts, do they win?
No.
I'll give you 3 choices. No?
No.
If Tim Boyle starts, do they win?
No, but they'll be better.
Does Tyler Huntley give you the best chance of winning?
I think he does just simply because he can make plays up with his legs.
So if he's your starter, what happens on Monday night?
If he's your starter, I'm saying you got a 40% chance of winning.
So what's your prediction? If you had to make a score, what's your score? They're not going to score 20, so what's the score? 17-16?
No, I'm not sure Miami scores that much. I'm going to say 17 to like 9.
And if they were to win?
If they were to win, it's going to be like a 16 to 13 game. All right. And I would predict that, I would say that Miami's defense would have to set Miami up in the red zone to score a touchdown, but they did that in Seattle and it didn't work. So I think it's like a 16 to 13 game, and this is going to be an old school taffy pull. And I'll say this as well, okay? If Miami turns the ball over, they got no shot. All right. If they lose the turnover battle, if Miami has another 8 to 10 penalties, they're not going to win. All right. For them to win this game, they need to be disciplined. They need to be basically very focused on not committing penalties. They can't get behind the sticks. They have to play a very fundamental, close to the vest football game, and I don't know if they're capable of doing it.
No. Do we have a third running back? Yes, Jeff Wilson. There's Achane, there's Wilson, and then there's Wright.
Wasn't Wilson on the injury list?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. He'll play.
All right.
He'll play. They'll bring him when they have to. Let me ask you this. People think because he's a player's coach, but do you see that if they lose this game, that the veterans and Ramsey and Hill and that group, David Long, Jordan Brooks, Calais Campbell, Zach Sealer, could they start to turn on their coach? If they lose this, I think. If the defense does their job again, and then the offense does not move because they've started Tim Boyle and they score 10 points or 8 points or whatever it is a game, do you see them finally, like, basically McDaniel, like, basically they're going to turn off McDaniel saying, what the heck is going on?
I think these next 2 weeks, I don't know if it'll happen after Monday night, but these next 2 weeks, if Miami scores, under 10 points a game these next 2 weeks, I think the defense could probably start saying, hey, what the hell, guys?
He'll be fired.
Turning things out.
If they lose next 2 games and they can't score 20 points or 18 points or 17 points, he's going to get fired. Because I actually think that Ross is finally going to start listening to the fans, as crazy as that sounds. He is not going to suffer through a 1-4 start and not do anything about it. You cannot go 1-4 with this team and your softest schedule, because Tua coming back against winning football teams, that's a recipe for disaster. He can't beat winning football teams.
Well, I mean, Ross is more interested in keeping the fans happy and engaged than anything else.
But they'll be disengaged.
They're already disengaged in a way. I mean, have you seen what the aftermarket ticket sales are for this game on Monday night?
Aren't there some games for like $20?
Yeah, they're going for under $20 in some instances now. All right, that's insane. All right, for an NFL football game on Monday Night Football. But the Miami fans are fickle. They want to be entertained.
Oh, all right. That's why I'm waiting. If I come down for Fan Club Weekend, which is the Cardinals game, which I did last year for the Panthers game, because I like to come see everybody and have a really good time. I'm waiting because if the Dolphins stink, I might still come because my tickets for the game will cost me nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll be there. I'm going to the game.
No, because it's Fan Club Weekend, because that's the best. It's the most fun weekend to come to a game because there's stuff going at boat campers. There's tons of different groups coming down. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. No. And I still love going to watch live football.
Oh, sorry, I love it too.
I love going to high school games. I love going to college games when I can.
You're in club level, right?
I'm at club level this year, yes. So
You're on which side?
the side where the players come in at. So
It's your
I'm
2-1. We're like 201, 202, that area.
206. But
206.
yes, yep. So but yeah, no, it's look, I love going to games. I love watching the games live. You get so much. I love feeding off the stadium. But man, if they lose these next 2 weeks, they're coming.
Yeah.
The atmosphere at that Arizona game could be fun in a very bad way.
I might just
Uh,
come just for that. I'm telling you, I
uh,
might just come for that.
well, and you're going to play Arizona, and right now Arizona is a fun team to
Oh,
watch.
Kyler Murray
Oh
actually does
yeah,
something that I want my quarterback to do: move outside the pocket, make a
yes,
play.
yes, move outside the pocket and create. And and we talked about this on another show, but the way quarterbacks are taught nowadays, all right,
You
is
live in
basically
Buffalo. I'm waving to you from the north.
the way quarterbacks are taught to play anymore from high school all the way through the NFL is basically 1-2 improvise. All right. And Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, all of these guys are doing that. And you can see it in they're making plays outside of the structure of the play.
Yeah.
And that's we really haven't done that all year. And the one time Tua tries to, he get concussed. I mean, so
Right.
it's just one of those things. There has to be a different element going on, forward with this team. And
I've been to a game. Did you go to games, T Dobbs? I live in Montreal. So in theory, if I wasn't going to Miami as a kid and didn't fall in love with Dan Marino and get addicted to it, people would say you're from Montreal. The closest team for you is Buffalo. So yes, it's pretty insane going to Buffalo. But the tickets to go to a Buffalo game against Miami right now, right now at this moment, to sit up in the clouds, you're talking 300 US a ticket to sit up at the
oh yeah,
last row of the building.
yeah. So I have, you know, I'm missing this week because of work.
Where will you be? You'll be watching the game.
I'll be in Indianapolis. That's where our corporate
Yeah,
headquarters
yeah,
are
but
for
you'll be
work.
watching the game. Hope you don't have a
Yes,
dinner that night.
I do, but it's relatively early. It's at 5:30, so
Game's
I
at
should.
7:15, which is weird.
Yeah, because they got two games again,
Yeah, I don't
which I
understand.
don't mind. But anyway,
Not two great games.
no, not even the CEO of my company would make me miss the Dolphins game on Monday night. So I've already talked to him about it. Uh, but, uh,
Tell them
but
you have to do your homework for the Fitz Talk Sports Network.
oh, absolutely. But my next game back would be Arizona. I'll be attending that one, and then I have tickets for the Indianapolis Dolphins game in mid-November. I'll be in Indianapolis to watch that game too. Um,
No, that's right after the bye, isn't it?
uh,
Mid-October. Yeah, it's the game right after the bye.
is it the game right after the bye?
Yeah.
I thought it was Arizona, then the
No,
Colts. But
it's Tennessee, New England, bye, Indianapolis.
yeah, so I'll be at
It's
Indianapolis
October 21st, I think, or
October
20th.
20th, I think. Yeah,
20th, yeah.
yeah. So I'll be at that game. I'll be at the
You'll be
Arizona
at the
game.
Loud House. You're going to the Loud House. It's a loud place to play too, Indianapolis.
Oh no,
But they're struggling. That's that's another team that's fluttering. They don't know who they are. They have no identity.
you're right. And then this week, I'm going back out to SoFi, and I'm going to see the Dolphins Rams Monday night game there. So
Very cool. Very cool. So, guys, appreciate you watching. We're an hour and 20 minutes into the show. We sorry we missed Bret. Bret will probably join me at some point when we figure out when we're going to do the pregame show. Don't forget to check out all the shows on the network
yeah,
tomorrow. There may or may not be a Finn's Talk today. Bobby will let everybody know because he has some stuff going on. Tomorrow night there'll be No Holds Bar, which with Josh Kimmel, and if it's not Bobby, it will likely be yours truly because I'm as big of a wrestling fan, if not worse than Bobby, because I'm a little older, so I get it. Sunday, there's no football. You won't be hearing from us much because once again, we're playing Monday night. So not on a short week, to have a full week of rest, they should be ready for this game. They've had plenty of time to prepare for this game. It's not like the offense was coming out in full throttle, so it's not like they exerted a lot of energy while in Seattle. So, anyways, Any final words, Greg, before we call it a night?
No, again, if you don't follow Locked On Dolphins with Kyle Krabs, he puts out good content. I learned a lot from listening to him this week on a couple different things. Also follow Kurt Warner. There's some quarterback stuff that he's talking about right now that's going on in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And some of the things he's reiterating some of the things that we've talked about on our shows as well.
Yeah.
About how what progressions are and how to progress through a passing game in today's NFL. So some of that stuff, like I said, I've been doing this. I've been coaching and playing. Basically since I was a kid and coached. In the mid '90s, and I'm still learning things about the game, and that's what makes this great.
The cool part about I remember I watched the documentary. They were freaking out. Oh my God, no Trent Green. Kirk Warner came in with a powerful offense, and look what happened. Talk about adjusting into winning.
Yep. No,
it was all about the offense, and it wasn't about their defense. It was all about their offense, and Dick Vermeil made it happen. So, anyways, Pete, I appreciate everyone for watching. T-Dobbs, P-Double, Revo, Greg, Chris, Cap, everybody who's watched the show tonight. New Attitude, we always appreciate you. Rick, P-Double, and T-Dobbs. Since you guys are Buffalo guys, I do welcome you, and I'm giving you an invite way in advance. I'd like to have a perspective of the Buffalo Bills, whether we suck or not. So heading into that game at the beginning of November, you're welcome to join us on a show the Sunday or the Saturday or even on the Friday before the show. You can come on Fitz Talk Overtime to talk to me and Greg before that game and Bret and have a challenge and talk about the differences in our franchises. You're welcome to do it. We really, really would appreciate it. Don't be shy. Myself, 2-3 years ago, I never thought I'd be doing podcasts, and I don't know what I would do without it right now. It's a good place just to vent. You don't have to come on camera if you don't want. You can come on audio just to give yourself a free perspective on what it's like to be a Bills fan and that perspective. Because honestly, even though the only thing is that we not love the Buffalo Bills, but they are a respectful franchise. They care about their team. And as long as you're not a Jets fan, I'll forgive you for it. I'll even forget a Patriots fan. I won't forgive a Jets fan.
Right.
So, anyways, thank you so much. Don't forget to check out Caneswear, greatest show on surf. Guys, you'll see us throughout the week. As we always like to say, fins up, everybody.
Fins up.